This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of October 31st. Happy Halloween. We're recording this actually on November 1st, since
we wanted to record last night, and then I think Halloween got to our kids a little bit.
I terrified my 4-year-old tremendously last night. So she's the spookiest of our children. She was a tarantula for Halloween. She loves scary stuff. So what I did to terrify my child and make our podcast recording the next day was basically I got on a YouTube channel, just like play spooky sounds, and I tucked the have it playing on YouTube, tucked it in her closet, and we were reading her nighttime story, and she kept hearing sounds. So I had bought her a Haunted Mansion nightlight from Home Depot. It was like $9. It was on sale. So she keeps hearing, says, "Oh, the thing is playing music." I'm like, "Oh, is it?" She goes, turns it off, and the music's still playing. So she goes in the closet and she gets super scared, but she finds the thing and she laughs at me, ha ha ha. So then, as she's going to bed, I open up the door. Said, "You want me to check again?" And I started peeking in, and I kind of jumped in, yelled, and slammed the door behind me, and it looked like I was being sucked into the closet. She did not like that. So for anybody out there that has young children, thinking that this would be funny, it is not. And then she wouldn't go to bed for the next hour and a half, and we missed our recording window because then it was just too late to record at like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that story interests anybody, the first minute of our show. But happy Halloween, everybody. This week, we're going to focus on what other companies are coming for Disney's family market in the vacation space. Top 3 ways to get more Disney magic at home. And, of course, we're going to do our under and overrated segment as well. What are we doing this week, Phil? I'm not scrolling down the show notes.
Souvenirs. Disney Souvenirs.
We had some good tips in Discord of what we should do next. So we're definitely taking them. So if you have any ideas of what you want us to do for top 3 or under overrated, hop in Discord and shoot us some good feedback. And then we're going to go over some DBC engagement on what to do with the Play Pavilion. This one I struggled with. I don't think we got too much engagement from the community because it's kind of up there in the air. But first, Phil, why don't you go and share what's going on in our Disney world? What's everybody talking about?
So first, speaking of Halloween, I thought I'd start with a quick cold open question and just ask you, Jason, have you ever dressed up for Halloween, or you or your family, as a Disney character?
I'm not a costume person, but this is more of like, I've just never gotten around to costumes. I'm not against wearing costumes, but I've never been a Disney character. It'd be cool. My family wanted to do Moana, have me dress up as Maui last year, but it just didn't happen. So no. We've seen your pictures though, Phil. What were you this week?
Well, for this past, for yesterday, I went as a stereotypical Disney dad, done out with my cargo shorts and floppy hat and all that sort of stuff, and had my Disney engagement or my Disney experience open up, pointing to wait times and trying to get everybody over to the short wait at Big Thunder Mountain. But in the past, we have done different family things. We did, when my youngest was really little, we all did characters from Peter Pan. I was Captain Hook, and that was fun. My son was Smee, and I kept like ordering him around, and that was fun. And then a couple of years ago, just myself and the older 2, we were characters from Gravity Falls. So I was Grunkle Stan and stuff like that. So that was a fun. That was one of those where like half the people had no idea who we were, but the people who did thought they were great costumes. So,
well, there you go. Perfect. As long as you have fun.
Absolutely. So speaking of actual news, and one, I guess, benefit of delaying is there was a bit of breaking news that just came out. Universal Orlando has announced that a number of areas within Universal Studios in Florida, Fievel's Playland, Woody Woodpecker's Nut House Coaster, Curious George Goes to Town, DreamWorks Destination, and the Shrek and Donkey Meet and Greet will permanently close on January 15th to make room for new family entertainment. So this literally just came out like 5 minutes ago. We have no idea what it means. This area was always speculated to close. Originally, there was a rumor this was going to close for the Nintendo area, but we know that is going to go into Epic Universe. So not really sure what they're going to put in here, but it is an area that hasn't really been updated in a long time. So not too surprising, but I don't know what they'll put in there.
I mean, I always thought like when you go to Universal, right? I've never been there, so my commentary is lacking at this point, right? From experience. But what you see is like what would interest me if I would go to Universal. You got all the rides, you got the coaster, you've got a couple of the really cool dark rides. But a lot of this extra stuff always felt like, oh, we have this IP, just throw it in there. Somebody's going to like it. It seemed like
I just listed off a bunch of like random IP that didn't really relate to each other, right?
But I'm like Curious George. Is that dragging people into the park? Is Woody Woodpecker is an old and dated cartoon character, even though there was a movie, I think, within the last 5 years, I want to say.
Maybe 5 years, yeah.
I know I've watched some live-action Woody Woodpecker thing. But, I mean, Shrek is not an IP people are going after anymore these days. So I think it's great that they're redoing this. It's just going to make – because we're going to talk about this, I mean – in one of our topics today, it's when I'm planning my next trip to Orlando, it might be heavy Universal once Epic Universe opens up.
Sure.
And the more options, the better.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was going through kind of other DreamWorks properties because, like I said, Nintendo and How to Train Your Dragon are already going into Epic Universe, but they could do more Shrek. There's Trolls, I think, is kind of a popular property.
Trolls would be huge. My kids love that sound.
Like if they did a fun, like really immersive area that was super colorful and like that could be a lot of fun. So I mean,
they could duplicate something like the Frozen sing along and just like the kids just sing all those pop songs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they would love that. They don't need rides or anything. It needs to be like a sing along. I mean, they would
like a sing along in a play area and character meet, and they'd be good, right?
I mean, that would be over the top. I mean, but like they would love all of it. But I think like minimally that like just like a sing along type of thing, they would be like all over that.
So we'll see. Like I said, breaking news. Hopefully more will come out, and we'll see. But it is interesting, like you said, with the other point about people going after the family market. Obviously, they highlighted this will be new family entertainment, and this is at the same time they're still building Epic Universe. They're doing other upgrades to the existing parks. So.
I have comments, but we're going to talk about that later.
Okay. The only other news item I had is that Disney did announce the Blizzard Beach opening date. It will open on November 13th. And of course, at the same time, Typhoon Lagoon will close for its annual maintenance. They've added, I think, to the big family raft ride, they've added like a conveyor belt so you don't have to like carry your rafts. And they've also added some frozen elements to the Tykes Peak area. There's kind of statues of Anna and Elsa when they were kids and the little snowies and stuff like that. So cute little additions, but nice, obviously, just to have something else reopen. And I had the follow-up question of, have you ever been to either of the Disney water parks, and does that appeal to you as for part of your Disney vacation?
I have not. And the only reason, because I may soon, but because my youngest wasn't big enough to be, I don't want to go there and have to be like, by my youngest daughter's side 24/7.
Yeah.
Like my two oldest are very strong swimmers now. And my youngest it was very strong. So if we were to go next summer, I would consider it, but before not, because my kids weren't old enough.
Yeah. We haven't brought the kids to them. I've gone when I was a kid, we went to Typhoon Lagoon. And then my wife and I, when we did a solo trip, actually during college, we went to Blizzard Beach. So they're very well themed. They're fun water parks. It's just,
they look great.
It's just hard to fit it into a regular. There's so much other stuff we want to accomplish during our Disney trip to fit them in. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to Disney for water parks. And typically, I mean, if I had like maybe a 10-day trip type of thing where I can maybe fit one of those in, but with all the parks, that's where I want to be, right? So that's where a lot of people want to be. So
exactly. So, and then moving on to our takes on Disney Souvenirs. This was suggested by a member of the board, Eulin. Suggested Disney Souvenirs. So which Disney souvenirs do we think are overrated, properly rated, or underrated? So Jason, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so we're going to do the overrated ones first. And this is actually newsworthy, I think, because my overrated Disney souvenir are popcorn buckets. I don't get them. I see one right behind you right now.
I was going to say I have a shelf of popcorn buckets behind me for those of you watching on YouTube.
I don't get them. I mean, obviously they're decorative pieces. You can see them behind you. They look cool. but I think they're overrated only because when I think overrated, I take everything into account, like how much do they cost, how, what people do for them. And if you looked online right now, you could find like lines out of nowhere to get the Mr. Toad's popcorn bucket that was released today, right?
Today, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got reservations. People are waiting 3 to 4 hours. People are buying these for $30 and then putting them on eBay for $120. I think I saw something for $500, something ridiculous. I think they're overrated. I mean, to commit yourself to that much, I think they're definitely overrated. And you don't eat popcorn out of them, but I think that's just an excuse. They're like toothpick holders, right?
Yeah.
No, I just think they're overrated. I think people go crazy for them when they're cool, but I just think they're totally overrated.
Fair enough. I mean, I think they're obviously fun, collectible display things, and when you buy them, then you get the cheaper refills for popcorn afterwards. But I certainly can understand that take. They take up a lot of room. You almost have to find spots for them.
Phil feels attacked when he actually responds with more than 3 words without my prompting on one of my overrated things. But no, I mean, I think they're great. I would buy them. I just have no place to put them if I were to actually buy one. So that's why I'm kind of throwing that out there. All right, what's your overrated?
So my overrated, and I'm sure this will get some hot response too. I am a bit of a hypocrite because I do have one of them, but I voted my overrated as Spirit jerseys. I think some of them are kind of cool looking. Some of them look really silly to me. They're crazy expensive, and I mean, I guess if you're coming from a cold weather climate, but like if you're a local or anything like that, like how often are you wearing long sleeve sweatshirt type things? And I don't know. I'm seeing them elsewhere too. It's not just a Disney thing. I'm just surprised how much they've taken off and how crazy people go over them. Like I said, I have one, but I don't know. I think they're a bit overrated for how crazy people go for them and the cost that they go for. I think they're up to $80 each now. So.
Yeah, I think the cost is ridiculous. At least the popcorn bucket is like not crazy amount of money, but I don't get the Spirit jersey thing. I don't know where people are going crazy for them. I haven't really seen people go crazy for them, but maybe I'm just ignoring it and blocking it out.
I mean, I don't think I've seen like 4-hour lines like you saw for like the Figment popcorn bucket or anything like that. But people, whenever I see like new releases, I see a lot of comments on social media about it, and they definitely release them for every excuse they have for every festival and everything. They're releasing new ones. So.
I mean, I think it's a valid overrated. I don't get it either. So, okay. We're going to do properly rated. Now, my properly rated Disney souvenir are the ears that you can get everywhere. I think they're awesome. They're classic to the park. There's no other place where you can see adults go walk around with Mickey or Minnie ears. I think you get creative with them. I like how people bring their own from home that are handmade or handcrafted. I think it just makes the park really fun. I mean, like, my wife goes and picks out a new pair of ears every time that we go and wears them for her whole vacation. I think it's really good. They're not terribly expensive there are some that are terribly expensive, but for the most part, anywhere from like $20 to $40, depending on the fanciness level that you're at. I think, and they last. Like they're not as like cheaply made as some like the plush or some of the other plastic toys that you can get. There's some that we have for our daughters that have lasted like 3 or 4 years, and they get mileage at home in the toy bin and stuff like that. So I think they're properly rated. Price is good. They bring good feelings, and you can always bring them back for your next trip too. So they kind of have that, durability to them. Yeah. So Phil, what is your? Oh, did you have comments?
I was just gonna say, I think that's a good one. The other thing is they're kind of uniquely Disney, right? Like other theme parks don't have like Mickey or Minnie ears and stuff like that. So I think that's a good pick. My properly rated I picked coffee mugs. I know it's kind of a stereotypical thing. Pretty much everything has coffee mugs, but we always get one every trip and we use them when we come back. It reminds us of our trips. We have a lot of the Starbucks, you were here ones and that has like all the attractions and things on the side. And I don't know. I like any souvenir that you get use out of. It's not just a display thing or something like that. So I think they're fun. They have all sorts of different styles. I will say some of them that I see, I'm like, those don't look super functional. Like the shape of them is kind of funky and stuff. But I think, pretty much everybody can find one that fits their theme. Again, they're not crazy expensive. A lot of them are, $15-ish, something like that. So I think it's something you can get every trip and display them at home and get use out of them. So that's my pick for properly rated.
I mean, I have a comment because it's going to lead me directly to my underrated Disney souvenir, which is the refillable mug. And my answer for all that is exactly the same. I love bringing it home. It reminds me of a vacation point, and we kind of keep the unique ones that we have. And you have one drinking it right now. For those that are listening, and almost all my other episodes that we've done the show, I've always had that. That's I drink my water, I drink my tea out of that. So for the same reason why you like bringing it home and drinking, I don't like coffee mugs because they're too small. I like to have like 2 cups worth of stuff sitting at home, so I don't have to constantly get up and down. But I think they're underrated. The refillable mugs are anyway, is because not many people either talk about them, and you can see some people collect them, but they're a little bit more of a commitment when you buy them. They're plastic. A lot of people don't buy them because they're not going to really use them for the refillable portion of things. And there's not much variety to them either. There's usually one for like a year or a season or so, and then that's it. But I love them because I actually use them. And now that I'm thinking about it, I bet you if you pour out the water, the volume of a refillable mug, it'll probably fill a coffee mug, actually, because they're not that gigantic. So,
well, I can let you know how big they are. At least this one is, because I used mine for my outfit yesterday when I went around trick-or-treating.
Okay.
And it perfectly fit my can of beer.
So it's 12 ounces.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, very good. All right, so what is your
So my underrated isn't necessarily underrated as far as an item, but when thinking of it as a souvenir, and I picked Magic Bands or Magic Band Plus. I think a lot of times people are like, oh, it's something I need to get for like accessing the parks or accessing my room, but we always view them as souvenirs and something that we come home, like we pick one out when we're there. My kids are excited about whatever the new property is or for a new attraction that they're into. And then when we have them at home, we look at them a lot. We use them. I know some people use them as almost like chains that they put on their Christmas trees, or they use them for countdown calendars. When they string a whole bunch together and take one off every day when they're getting closer to their next trip. They're just fun. We've talked about in the past too, when you used to, if you get them, pre-order them, it's a fun thing to come before your trip, kind of build excitement for your trip. So I think beyond just like the functionality of them, I think they have a great sort of sentimentality to them and are good souvenirs. Compared to like the cost of even like a t-shirt and stuff like that, unless you're getting some super crazy limited edition one, even the Magic Band Pluses are only $35 or something like that. They're really not bad when they're a souvenir and something functional together.
I'm gonna totally agree with you. And I got my first Magic Band that I paid more money than just the ones, and I got the what do they call this one? Where's my camera? The partner one. It's not focusing.
Oh yeah.
But the partner one where it's Walt and Mickey holding hands. I think no, this one in front of the castle.
Yep.
This one was like $40, I think, and I felt I was overpaying for it, but I loved it. Sit here. I'm going to use it again for my vacation coming up in 30 something days. Best part about it is this is worth the extra $10 alone. Is the little like band that's on the or the
the slider, I think they call them.
Thing. My Magic Bands always fall off, and this prevents it from doing that, what I really like. I got my kids all Magic Bands. They got to pick them up, Magic Band Pluses. So this is going to be their first vacation where the Magic Band that they're using is actually like not just a blank color that you would used to get for free. So when the kids were younger, I still have like a handful of them upstairs in my closet, but they're all like, I think I've mentioned this before, but all my kids just ripped all of them to shreds. Like they took like the extensions off, so they're all tiny small, and I don't know if they can actually wear them anymore, but it is what it is. But I think they're definitely underrated as souvenirs, except for the people that collect thousands of them. So there are people out there that do that.
There's worse things to collect, I think. But,
that's true.
So I think that's it for our hour takes. Reminder of our social media accounts. So definitely, what do you think are overrated or underrated souvenirs? Let us know there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, all at the DBC Pod. And also feel free to chat us up on our Discord server. Just wanted to mention right now, I think going on right now is a cast member preview of Phantasmic. The full open to the public is in a couple days on November 3rd. As Jason mentioned, we're recording on November 1st, so the cast member preview is going on right now. I know on our on our Discord we have at least one member who's there, and so if you want to hear, I'm sure he'll be chiming in with his thoughts on the new scene and stuff like that. And also wanted to shout out Eulin, who's doing her first trip over to Disneyland. I mean, she's super. She works at Walt Disney World and stuff like that. So this is her first trip to Disneyland. She's been doing a trip report, and it's been really cool to kind of hear her take on her first trip to Disneyland. So just wanted to kind of highlight a few things going on our Discord server.
That reminds me, I have to click follow on that because it wasn't updating me when she started posting updates, which kind of irritates me. I didn't see that. I want to also give a shout out, once we're talking about the community right now, I want to shout out Wheezy that hopped on and was planning his trip for next year, I believe in April. And he was looking for advice and opinions on what you should do. And he was kind of looking at DVC. And he jumped into our DVC channel where we have some really, really smart DVC people. And he was able to book a really good deal at the Grand Floridian. And everybody's super stoked about him. So if there's a reason other than maybe just kind of chatting up everybody, there is some functionality to Discord that can help you save some money and navigate some of the confusing things that come with planning a Disney trip. So hop on by. Links are everywhere where you can find us. Yeah, so I also want to mention the DCI is not even worth mentioning update because I think we shouldn't mention it until Fantasmic gets its score in there. We're so close to the big 9-0. So there we go. I'm looking forward to that. It's tenths of a point off and Fantasmic. I'm just do you know, Phil, how much the DCI is going to uptick from Fantasmic coming back?
I thought I tried to do some math quick, and I thought it was like 5 points or 7. Like it's a lot because it's one of the major entertainment elements, and it's going to be well into the 90s.
So are you saying 5 points? That's your prediction?
I believe it. I think so.
So I was going to say 3 or 4. So we're kind of close. We'll find out next week. Okay, so this week's topic we're going to talk about are, we kind of prefaced this earlier in the news, are other companies coming for Disney's market of families. And that's basically, and this conversation is kind of going everywhere. Like in WDW Magic forums, they're talking about like other companies. There's not that many other options for upscale, I guess, family vacations. So a lot of family vacations are like you go camping or you go to the beach or anything else like that. Those aren't inherently designed for children. A child is probably going to have more fun in Disney World than they would have at just playing at the beach, that type of thing. And so I'm going to let you go into this, but we've had Bob Chapek had an interview and he had a bunch of different conversations. We're going to talk about that because we were
so this was something, you know, I probably could have included this in what's going on in our Disney World because a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah,
but it's just another interview that Bob Chapek did. This one with the Wall Street Journal. So again, it's more of like a business oriented thing. This isn't for Disney fans. But he was asking a lot about the business thing, and one thing he mentioned in there, he was surprised how inelastic the Disney fandom is. That's an economic term, basically meaning no matter what they do with the price, people still pay it.
Yeah.
So it's not something where if we charge a lot more, a lot of people less come. If we cheapen it, you know, a lot more people come. It's basically whatever we charge, people come. And he just kind of talked a lot about different things about how he thought, you know, the park reservation system enables them to guarantee an excellent experience. He talked about animation movies and how family.
Well, let's dive into this because this was actually like a really thing that we both kind of disagreed on, and I think when we disagree on something, it makes for interesting content. The first thing was the reservation system. I understand from a usability point of view, everybody hates the reservation system, but I will play devil's advocate. No one likes having to pluck down where you want to go, right? I'm not saying like, this is great. This makes my time planning a vacation fun. But my counter argument to all of this, where people hate on the reservation system, is that you were doing it anyway, right? You were picking out your fast passes, and that usually was almost analogous to a park reservation. It does stink for locals and AP holders that, you know, have trouble maybe booking things the day of. So spontaneity is a little bit more difficult, especially the people who like waking up and deciding what park to go to that day type of thing. But we don't know how good or how bad the experience is as an aggregate for guests, right? We only know surface. Like, we hate the reservation system. It prevents us from doing X, Y, Z. And the parks are still crowded. But what if the reservation system wasn't there, and would we get more extremes, right? So think, if you're thinking 365 days a year, let's take away the extremes already, like the Christmases and the New Year's, that type of thing. So on any given point, could there have been, let's say, 5% of the days where they were completely understaffed, where they got surprised. So the experience, it was that much worse. But because of the reservation system, they're able to smooth out those bumps. So I'm thinking for more of a grander scale from an operational point of view. If I can smooth out 5 or 10% of those larger spikes in traffic versus what we were staffed up for, then he's right. It does provide a better guest experience. It takes away some of those peaks and valleys, so to speak, on, maybe they are overstaffed, which is, I guess, is a good thing for everybody, but operationally they're wasting money, right? So they get that money back somewhere. Obviously, Disney's just pocketing that money. They're not giving it back to the customer, which is a whole other story. My point is, I think Bob Chapek deserves a lot of other attacks, I guess, or disagreements. I don't think this is one of them. But you had an opposite take.
I mean, I do kind of get it for, the annual vacationer. It's not really a big deal to make that, but I guess it's the average guest doesn't see how this is improving their vacation. They see it as an added hassle, something they have to do that they don't have to do at Universal or other parks. Mm-hmm. And then combined with just everything else, whether it's park hopping, you can't hop until 2. How does that make my experience better? Just kind of all the changes that they've made, not less things included, having to pay for Genie, like every change he's made, it's hard to see how that's making my experience better. And so I think that's hard to stomach when he's on there, and the way he presents it, it's almost like, well, if you're not having a better time, that's on you. Like, we put all these things in there for you to have a better experience.
I think you're reading a little bit too much in the way he was saying things on that, because he's talking from a business point of view.
And
he's talking to a business crowd, right?
So 100% agree with that.
Yep. So when a Disney fan that's passionate, right, and they see all these things like you're talking about, like adding Genie Plus and the project management that comes with it, and adding the reservations and all this other stuff, it stinks. No one likes it, right? That user experience of all those things as an aggregate make the experience of going to Disney worse.
Right.
However,
and I think finish. Sorry.
Well, I'm reiterating. However, if you take things individually, like the reservation system, it's probably preventing a handful of bad days per month for the customer. Because part of that conversation was, we want guest that comes on a random Tuesday in August have the same experience as somebody that comes like a random day in November. Or he said something similar to that. I'm paraphrasing, right. But I mean, I think that's the case, and I think that is helping. I mean, if we're going to have a benefit, I think that is actually happening, but it's also having the adverse effects when you combine it with all the other nonsense that they're doing.
Yeah, and just the last point I was going to make was just when you mentioned about like the super fans and stuff like that, he cites that when he talks about the inelasticity of Disney fans. It's like he really wants all the benefits of running Disney, but then he also says, but then those fans get upset when I want to just do normal things that any other company does. So it's kind of like, well, I want the benefit of running Disney, but I also want just all the benefits of running any other company. And it's like, well, you don't get both. Like you're either running Disney or you're running any other company, and he kind of wants the best of both worlds. And so I think that kind of rubs people the wrong way, where he doesn't seem to appreciate what he gets, what makes Disney different than any other company.
Well, that's the thing. I always like to defend somebody that gets kind of, ganged up on, but I mean, I don't feel bad for him. He's making way too much money.
I'm sure he'll cry himself to sleep on a giant pile of money. He's okay.
That's right. But I mean, you're not wrong, right? So like, he wants to be able to be like a businessman making business decisions and being respected by the business community. Unfortunately, you work for the company that's all about feelings and being super and
nostalgia and all that stuff. Yeah.
You can't be money grubbing and also be the leader of a Disney company, right? Like, I don't want to say money grubbing. That's kind of mean and nasty, but like, talk about increasing profits and being sterile in that conversation. Yeah. That doesn't belong coming out of the mouth of a CEO of Disney. And that's why you always probably need somebody that's creative or inspiring or a good person that can talk well. You don't have to be the designing genius person. And then you need a person that's all about money, like a Walt and a Roy. You need the person there to make sure the lights are staying on. You're making money to afford to do the things that the Disney company is known to create and do. So I'm with you on that. I just don't think he's a very good public speaker, or he speaks too honestly. Let's put it that way, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
Without thinking.
So anyway, so the main thrust of this topic was, in light of that, it also seems at the same time that maybe some Disney fans are getting a little jaded at Disney. Other companies are going after that family market.
Yep.
So one example I wanted to bring up was on the cruise line. Royal Caribbean recently opened up their bookings for their newest ship, which will be, I guess, their first public sailing will be in early 2024, called Icon of the Seas. And the marketing was clearly going after families. They have a whole area that's designed, that's called Surfside on the cruise, that's designed that the whole family can spend the whole day there. Areas for small kids, the teen clubs and everything are off that. There's a bar where they do mommy and me drinks. So the mom and the kid can get the same drink, but like adult and virgin version and stuff
cool.
like that. Like the tagline for it is the world's best family vacation. They have new rooms that are designed to hold up to 6 people that, have a bunk area for kids that have separate TVs and stuff like that, and a whole another area for parents and stuff. So it's very clearly going after that market that Disney Cruise Line has gone after. And I'll be honest, we booked a cruise on that. It appealed to us, and it's cheaper than Disney Cruise Line. Now, I will say it's getting more expensive. It's getting closer to Disney's, because that's probably why they're going after that market, because they know the prices yield can be a little higher there. But it's still, considerably cheaper than if I wanted to do the same trip in the same type of room on, say, the Disney Wish or something.
Right.
At the same time, Princess Cruise Line has an ad going out where they show a picture of, like, in the wilderness, like an actual wilderness lodge called Wilderness Lodges, like a small town that says Main Streets. It shows the Northern Lights. It goes, and fireworks. Commercial. And it says all for half the price of a theme park vacation. So they're seeing, kind of blood in the water as well. And then also, obviously, Universal with Epic Universe. And, Comcast had their quarterly earnings talking about, how well their theme parks are doing. And one thing the CEO said was, I'm especially excited for Epic Universe to open in the summer of 2025, which will transform Universal Orlando into a week-long destination. So that is why they're opening Epic Universe. They want the family coming down for a week-long vacation to spend it at Universal.
So this is what I wanted to talk about when we're at the top of the show when we're discussing the news. Cruise line I can't speak to because I'm not a cruise person. I've never been on a Disney cruise, so I can't compare the two. But it makes sense, right? They want to right now. Disney Cruise Line, they're investing in this product, and by all accounts, they're doing an excellent job. Some people are saying the old school Disney Disney magic is alive and well in Disney Cruise Line.
Yes.
Right. So they want to just create that. They want to get into that market because there's really no other cruise lines that are catering to that environment.
Correct.
So, I mean, if you want to be making an analogy, this is Universal building their first theme parks in Orlando to kind of get into that market, right? But recently, with Universal making a ton of money on profit from their parks, clearly beating out, they see vulnerability. Somebody said this on one of the forums that, they see weakness in Disney's 3 parks. They're never going to beat Magic Kingdom, and I don't think they're trying to. But I think they could say, well, if we can't be number 1, we could be 2, 3, and 4, and by a really good margin. And I definitely think they smell blood in the water because Disney is not investing in their parks in the future, right? So, like, the last thing is Tron. We don't know where they're going to be spending money in the parks. Like, usually these things are 5-year projects, right? We got Blue Sky nonsense, but the parks are either overcrowded or they don't have enough attractions at Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, at Epcot. And I think with Epic Universe coming to town, you're going to take what is probably a 2-day trip to Universal. Like if you were doing a week in Orlando, you do like 3 or 4 days at Disney, 2 days at Universal, and off you go. But let's say 2 days at Epic Universe, and then with the other parks having their updates, like you mentioned earlier, maybe you can stretch it out to like 5 days, so you go back to one of the parks, or one of the whether it's oh gosh, I can't remember the name.
Well, the studios or Islands of Adventure, yeah.
Yes, I was going to say studios. Maybe do that 2 days, the other park once, and then Epic Universe 2 days or something else, like depending on the size, right? That's a week-long vacation, and you're done. And as long as they can create the resort atmosphere where you feel captivated, meaning your hotel is not right on the highway, and it's just like it's like any other Hilton. Like you go right into the parking lot and you're there. Like you got to feel like you're on property. If they can do that, then I think they're going to hit. Epic Universe will be the second best park in town, and then the other ones will backfill probably, unless Disney gets off their butts and do something. Yep. I don't know.
So we'll see. I mean, I fully agree with basically everything you said. I know that doesn't create great content, but that's where it is. I think they see
Yeah.
this as their chance to go for it, and Disney seems to be fine waiting and reacting. The other thing that the CEO Brian Roberts said, we're seeing clear evidence that investments we made throughout the pandemic continue to pay off, and we saw Disney not. They could have been working on Tron during the pandemic, and they weren't. So I think they're just more proactive, and Disney's going to be reactive. And I don't want to overreact. It's not like Disney's going away, but if they're going from having 85% market share, maybe it goes down to 75 or something. They'll still be fine, right? But it's and hopefully it does get them to react, right? Hopefully Universal kicks their butt for a year and they say, we got to build, add on to all these parks, whatever we have to do. And, we're all better off for it, but
what you're going to see, I think the first evidence of this, and not that we'll be able to see it, is just it's hotel reservation or hotel occupancy, right? So the person that goes down for 5 days, maybe now right now they may be doing 1 or 2 days at Universal, but they're going over there, right? Yeah. Some other podcasts were talking about DVC members. They're booking their DVC, but they're using it as a hotel to go to Universal, right? So I think you'll start seeing that hotel occupancy potentially going down at the margins, right? Like this is still 3 years away. We're 2.5 years away from when it opens. And you might see a lot of hotel discounts to get people in, that type of thing. So once you start seeing a lot of those things go out aggressively, I think you're going to start seeing it. But again, if this opens mid-2025, we're not going to see what the accounting's like for a year after that. And then you won't see we might see end of 2026, 2027 before we see Disney kind of maybe be nimble on their feet, unless it's completely disastrous, which I don't think it will be.
Yeah. So wait for those podcasts.
Yes. just wait, and we're gonna find out. I think soon enough. I think we'll find out a lot about what Disney's future plans are at next year's D23 for whatever that's worth, because they got to bring something to the parks at that point. Okay, so we're going to move on to our top 3. And this is one that I came up with. I mean, I didn't invent this. Probably a million people have this subject on YouTube right now. But I wanted to talk about it. And I think we talked about this probably a couple years ago, Phil. But I want to revisit it. Top 3 ways to get the Disney magic at home. This is always a good topic to talk about at least once or twice a year, in case we found different ways to do it and we want to share them. So, Phil, would you like to go first or second with your top 3?
I'll go first this time.
Okay.
First I had an honorable mention of host a podcast. I think that's a good way to keep that Disney magic at home. But my real answers are, first is watching nighttime entertainment on YouTube. We do this quite often. We'll put up, whether it's Fantasmic, which hasn't been on for a while, or Happily Ever After or whatever. There's so many good recordings of them, not the ones from Disney, but whether it's Cliff Flicks or Craig from the Disboards does a great job. Watching those YouTubes and getting all the feels that they put in there, I think is a great way within 20 minutes or whatever to kind of get your Disney fix. The second thing I have is artwork. We have a lot of artwork, Disney artwork, all around our house, or other collectibles that you display, whether it's tiki mugs or whatever. And the other thing fun about that is you can always just buy new stuff, right? So if you haven't been to the parks for a while, hey, I haven't been, there's some new tiki mug or some new art print that's out. You can buy that, and that kind of jazzes you up. Oh, where am I going to display it and stuff like that? So that's always fun. And I guess kind of similar from that is photos or videos from past trips, reliving them. In our playroom, we have a lot of photo collages of past trips. One thing we do a lot is we have the characters sign index cards, and then we put up collages that have a photo from that meet and greet along with the index card of that character's signature. Cool. So we have those all over. And then I also do videos from our trips. I've done them more in the past when the kids were younger. Spent a lot of time, actually, not to pat my own back, but I think they came out pretty good. And it's just fun to relive those Disney moments, but also kind of relive when your kids were a little younger and weren't talking back as much as maybe they are now. But those are the 3 ways I list to get our Disney magic when we're at home.
Right. I think those are great because I have very similar ones to those. My top 3 ways I get my Disney magic at home is every day at dinner time, if we're actually sitting at a dinner table eating, is we play Disney theme park music at dinner every single day. Excuse me. And that's typically through Deep Park Radio. They just play theme music, so it'll be like a show. It'll be a nighttime spectacular. It'll be last night was the cue music for the Jungle Cruise, the Jungle Cruise, and a game that I like to play with the kids at the table when they're not running around the house acting crazy is guess where it is at the park, right? So there'll be a cue or a land playing like, where is this in the park, and see if they can kind of figure that out. The second one, I like watching park walkthroughs, like in the background. There's a couple bloggers out there that don't, go crazy by talking too much or asking for things. It's like all they do is just kind of walk through the park. So it's a nice little landscape in the background where somebody's just kind of like enjoying the park, and it's like you can kind of enjoy it with them. We really dig those. There's some that they just walk through the park silently. It's just a park tour. Like you get the sights and the sounds, but there's no commentary at all. I think those are really cool as well. My third one is we have a Disney wall that's in our living room. So we've got a living room that has a 19-foot ceiling. And previously we had, in our last house, we had a big staircase that we just pictures kind of coming down the staircase. This one we have a big giant wall. And for every trip that we do, we add pictures to it. So I've got our 2019 trip, my wife's summer trip, and our upcoming trip all to put together. So I've been waiting to kind of bundle them all. And I will have, once I get it all completed, a nice hidden Mickey within the shape of the pictures. That's one of my plans. One of my future ways of getting Disney Magic, I've been trying to get this done for a while now, but I can't find the right product for it. So I might just kind of go simple. I wanted to get Bluetooth light bulbs. So Bluetooth speaker light bulbs where the sound comes out of the ceiling. I can't find any good reliable ones that are actually not like super expensive. So I think I'm going to buy a bunch of Amazon Echoes that are like $20 or so, and kind of put them in every room, and then play like land theme music or resort theme music kind of in the background. So you're walking through, you have that theme music kind of just playing in the background as you're kind of going about your day. And that's how I think I'm going to capture some Disney music. I don't know. My wife, I think, is into it. I just don't know how long it's going to last. Just like, are we going to turn this off? It's too much. But I think that's going to be really cool. So those are my top 3 ways to get Disney Magic at home in one future one, outside of starting your own podcast. All right, Phil, the next one up is our DBC engagement for the week. This was an interesting one. So which why don't you remind everybody what that was?
Yeah. So there is a rumor out there that in Epcot, what's still marked on the map and stuff is coming as the Play Pavilion, which is set to go into which used to be the Wonders of Life Pavilion. But the plans for the Play Pavilion have been canceled. We don't know that for sure. Definitely want to stress it's just a rumor. But assuming this comes to be, the DBC engagement topic was, what would you like to see in that place? But obviously always having to take into account its location. It's part of, it's in Epcot. It's in, what was Future World. There's now World Discovery, that area. It's in between, where Test Track and Mission Space and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is. So what would fit in there? What would you like to see Disney do with that space?
I'm trying to find a map of this because I haven't looked at this in a while, and I can't find a good one. So I don't know. I mean, like, I don't have an answer for this because that area has probably everything in it already. I mean, you've got 3 major attractions, even though Mission Space probably needs to be replaced with something. But I don't know. I don't know what you put there that wouldn't be as crowded. And I'm trying to get a Google map. So I'm going to look this up. What would you put there? You go in there, and I'll go after you.
So the first thought I had, and I struggled a little bit with what would be perfect, thinking of IPs and stuff like that. But somewhere I found about discovering like the world and discovering others in the world. And I know that probably relates a little bit to World Showcase, but I saw some way that demonstrated the connectedness of our world. And so what I thought would be cool would be if they had ways in there that people could interact with people that were elsewhere in the world. So whether it was like screens here with a camera and stuff that it connects to like Disneyland Paris or something like that, where you could talk and interact with people elsewhere in the world. I thought this kind of overlapped a little bit with one idea that Heard a Maniac on our message board happened, where they said they suggested having a suspended ride, so the structure kind of like Peter Pan, but you would go over all the different continents and sort of highlight aspects of each, and kind of going over, sort of the benefits of the world and learning about the world. So not just individual countries, but still kind of bringing you around the world. They said sort of like a modern day If You Had Wings. And I would say if there was one sort of commonality amongst all the responses on the Discord server, is a lot of people wanted a dark ride in there.
I think you need something that's, not in that area. That's not like a roller coaster or a super spin ride or like test track.
There's a lot of kind of thrilling-ish rides over there.
I think, if we're going to stay with world discovery, right? So if you got space, you got 2 space rides, you've got a land ride, right? You're on the road. I think you got to go under the ocean. I think a discovery, kind of like a submarine discovery kind of thing. It doesn't have to be obviously themed to anything, but I think you go. I think you get like a submarine voyage type of thing, and you kind of have something fun like that. I think that's the way you go if you're going to do the whole discovery thing. So, like, what else are you discovering right now on our planet? Right, we've already got outside the planet, one fictional, one not so fictional, and then you've got Test Track, which is actual testing vehicles. So, where else are you discovering at this point? Right, maybe discovering like in the jungle floor in the Amazon or something else like that. But the only other place where you're really discovering stuff is still at the bottom of the ocean floor, which I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Just to go through some other ideas from Discord server. Some people were kind of like, well, let's bring back, discovering about our health, right? So an updated version of Body Wars and stuff like that. And maybe updating kind of mental health and using the characters from Inside Out. Ryan W. suggested that. And the other idea Lumpy had, again, with Dark Ride, was basically like redoing Horizons, right? Like an updated new technology version of Horizons, sort of going over where is our future going, discovering our future, and kind of letting the guests pick what their future looks like and showing what that could look like, but using modern technology to do that.
I think you get away. I think you have to get away from edutainment in Epcot, right? Because we can't start talking about the future because that's going to look corny in 5 or 10 years, right? We know that's going to happen. It needs to be an experience that's fun and entertaining, but also doing things like that are you can be realistic, right? So you're exploring space. Like Mission Space is kind of doing that a little bit with some fiction kind of tossed in. Test Track is all like, this is how we test vehicles. It's a real thing and it's fun. So, I think you have to have an entertaining ride. And the only reason why I say that is because as much as we would love to have, Epcot be a place where you go learn and explore, that type of thing, it needs to draw crowds from other parks, right? So you need to have that. But personally, I think you need attractions on the other side by, updating the seas, the land, and getting Figment in a big way over there will just kind of balance out the park. So if we're going to be doing anything in that area, these should do something in that building because it's just sitting there. But if they're going to invest any more money in Epcot, it's got to be on the other side of that half of the park, I think.
Yeah, I think whatever they do, whenever you talk to Imagineers about the, where they see the process of Epcot, it's not edutainment and telling people things. It's edutainment, or it's wanting to promote exploration and curiosity, and almost like kind of prompting you to want to learn more. So like, Mission Space maybe teases you, I want to learn more about like being an astronaut, or, Test Track, I want to learn more about like how cars are made or something. So, your idea of like, well, I want to learn more about exploring the ocean floors or whatever it is, or if it was a health-based one, I want to learn more about, maybe becoming a doctor or a scientist or something like that. So not, it's not just lecturing to people, but it's sort of like getting people excited about something they could explore more.
Prompting a question for after your vacation.
Exactly.
More, right? You don't have to do the teaching there, but you have to open that door. And I think that'd be really cool for a lot of kids and, parents alike, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So what is next week's or this week's DBC engagement that starts?
So I kind of went back to something a little simpler. Hopefully we get a little bit more engagement on this. It's just, when is your next Disney trip? And sort of tying into our topic for the show, is it going to be just Disney, or are you going to be doing other things on that trip too? Are you going to be exploring Universal or whatever it is? Are you going to be adding on to things, or are you still, at this point in your life, still focusing just on Disney when you go down to Florida?
Your next Disney trip is not the one that you already have planned. So if you have a trip planned for like sometime,
like it's
spring,
don't count ours like December. Yeah, I'm going in December. No, like what's the one beyond the one you have planned? That's a good way.
Or beyond the one that you're thinking about, right?
Yeah.
So like you're thinking about your next Disney trip. You're not going to next summer. It's not planned yet. That doesn't count. It's where do you see beyond the next Disney trip? I guess that's the way you have to say it, right? We don't want to know about your next Disney trip because obviously that's going to be a Disney trip. But I think the future of your Orlando theme park vacation, what does that look like to you? And it's probably aimed at, is it going to be an Orlando trip, or is it going to be a Universal / Disney trip? How are you thinking about that? I'm really curious to what people are thinking. All right, Phil, I think this is going to be our shortest podcast in maybe a year. We're still at like the 50-minute mark, but we're definitely not over an hour. I could have gone longer, I think, talking more about the interview that Chapin did. You cut that short. I was ready to argue with you on the animation question.
Oh, the animation thing, yeah.
I think that was unfair, but you can go on Discord and find that whole conversation. It's
there you go. That's a good tease. That's why you should join Discord.
You can go find out.
See Jason and I argue over text.
Berating Phil over his tweets, but that's fun. Thank you guys for listening and watching wherever you might be. Make sure you like and subscribe and share with all your friends. If you could put us on your Facebook page or your Twitter timeline or whatever you're doing, we definitely appreciate that. And make sure you join Discord for that next DBC engagement. Please hop on and start talking about that. And if you haven't joined Discord yet, please go on. We've gotten new users on, and they're like, wow, thank you for helping planning my next Disney vacation. It sounds corny, but it actually happens. So again, thank you for participating. We appreciate everybody for doing so, and we'll see you next.
Bye.